Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hello. Welcome, everyone.
It's always
It's always something. It's always me. I did it.
It's not.
What
There's
was-
always something that pops up on our broadcast.
Yes,
But
we are here.
yeah, we're back with another episode of
Yes,
Blasian Soul. Um,
you're good. You keep talking.
okay. Once again, bringing you guys people making a difference in your community, entrepreneurs, small business owners. So we're trying to make a difference, one podcast at a time, and trying to bridge two most diverse cultures, which is Asian and Black, and teaching you guys a little bit while we're doing so.
Yes.
I know we started a little bit late, maybe about 10 minutes late, but we have amazing lives with
To say the least.
yeah, with kids,
Yes,
grandkids.
kids.
So that's the type of thing that we have going on. But let me start out by saying there was something that popped up earlier today that I'm going to ask the guys when they come on. But here's the question. If let's say let's take Asian and Black, but if Black people support Asian podcasts, even though a Black person might not be on it, should the Asian community in turn support the Black culture, even though your culture might not be represented in that particular episode? But we do promote you guys in other episodes. So just something to think about, take a look at, see see what's going on. I've seen a ton of people on, and then they got off when we didn't get on time. You guys jump back on.
Say hello if you're here. Hey, Miss Crystal. I see you. Welcome. Get ready for a very amazing episode tonight. We're going to be talking about history, which is and was one of my least favorite topics when I was younger. But as I got older, I started realizing how much history really is important to us. And I think that it's probably because I didn't really like my social study teacher and how she taught it. So I know.
Don't blame it on the teacher.
No, I was a really good student. The teacher did not like me. Let me tell you, it's my social studies teacher. Speaking of social studies and history, my social studies teacher, and I talk about her in my book, the first book that I have. I won't say her name because, it's fifth grade. It was ancients ago, super decades ago. But my social studies teacher, I was a straight A and B student, and she never gave me a grade higher than a C. And I didn't realize back then, but I realized as I got older, this particular teacher was a racist. She was a racist, and she told me I didn't deserve this country. Is exactly what she told me, and I remember that day until this day because I was singing in her class. I was singing in her class, and she ordered me to go to the principal's office. And I didn't know as a kid, right? I'm just a fun, happy kid. I'm singing and, singing in my class. And she's like, "Who's humming?" And everyone pointed at me and she's, "Laura, go to the office." And then she sent me to the office and I'm like, "What is going on? What's wrong? What did I do wrong?" And so she opened the door. Our classroom was outside in the mobile home. And so nobody heard her. So we had to walk across. It was at Garfield Elementary School. We had to walk across the parking lot to get to the actual building. Okay. And so when she opened the door for me to get out, she closed the door so no one else in the class can hear her. And she's like, "You don't deserve this country." And she starts shaking and yelling at me. I am such a good kid. I remember I was so mad that day. I turned around and I stuck out my middle finger. And I don't even do that. Must have been so mad. So I went into my principal's office thinking I'm in trouble. My principal happens to be Mrs. Jones, and she was an African American principal. And I didn't even get in trouble. So now as I got older, now I realize why. Because she knew that teacher was racist towards me.
There are different types and forms of racism.
Mhm.
Um, I would almost say, and I did say this earlier, that was closet racism
Yeah.
earlier today, that you weren't.
And and how when I went home, I remember my leg fell. I remember being super upset. Sorry, we're just gonna do this in the dark. But go ahead. I remember my dad. I explained to him. I explained to my dad what happened. The how he explained racism to me that time was, "Honey, there's a lot of Americans who love us, but then there's a lot that don't like us because our hair is dark." And that's exactly how I remember getting explained racism as a child.
But you guys might not see saying I'm sticking to my own race and things of
Yeah.
that nature is closet racism.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because when I asked you,
Mhm.
did you send out the
Mhm.
invite we have a lot of Lao groups that subscribe and tune in to Blasian Soul. And her response was, well, no, it doesn't have anything to do with Lao people. And my thought process was, well, sometimes we have episodes that doesn't have to do with Black people, but Black people tune in. We support
Mhm.
because we understand how hard it is
And
for.
so I just want to butt in. So I was explaining to him different groups only allow certain things, right? So if you have a cooking group, they want you to post cooking stuff. Not that I wouldn't post it. They may not get approved, right? If you go to different groups, that's how I explained to him. And the way that he said to me was thinking that those
If
people
you
might be closet racism, but
if your criteria for not supporting something is
Mhm.
because of their culture or their race, that's racism, period.
Yeah, but they still share it if you put it on there. If they approve it. It just depends on the group. See, I don't know all of them. It depends on the moderator, and you're right. There are people
That's
who are
that was your response. And your initial response is usually the truest response. And
okay.
your initial response was,
They may
well,
not, and that's true. They may or may not post it. If I have a women's group and somebody posts something about like guys,
woman and culture
okay.
are two different things.
Well, okay. Well, you see it how you see it. I'm just explaining to you. Different groups have their criterias on what you can. I didn't say that I wouldn't post
And that's
it.
the start of racism. To say, well, it's because I'm in a group or we think a certain way,
Mhm.
that is the start of racism.
All right.
But let's bring our guests on. These gentlemen have been doing the Black History
Mobile
Mobile Museum
museum.
for 20, 30 years now.
Wow.
And they go everywhere doing it. First of all,
Hello, hello, hello.
Dr.
Hey,
El-Hakim,
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us
peace.
today.
Peace. I'm honored to be here. Good
Hey,
to
hey, how y'all
be
doing?
in person.
and Omari. You got him?
How you doing?
Yep, he's up there. You see Omaro.
Oh, okay.
Omari.
These gentlemen I have known for 20, 30 years. I've known
Mhm.
um, Dr. El-Hakim by a different name when we went to school together.
Yep.
Omari I've known forever. He's been on the show before, but I just wanted to give
Oops,
some
sorry.
light to what they're doing,
Just seeing which.
especially in the times that we're in now, with the president cutting a lot of funding for a lot of events, a lot of programs, um, and this affects a lot of people. So we welcome you guys to the show. First, let me say congratulations to have this going on for such a long time. It is amazing. It is inspirational. So you guys kind of tell a little bit more about the museum. What are you guys' goals? What's your mission? And kind of give the audience what you guys are doing up to date.
Okay. Well, the work of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum. Well, first, let me thank you all again for inviting us on. But the work of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum starts actually on the campus of Ferris State University when I was a student. And shortly after taking a sociology class with Dr. David Pilgrim, who eventually started the Jim Crow Racist Memorabilia, I started collecting Jim Crow material. Simply because the way that Dr. Pilgrim taught sociology and how he engaged us with sometimes difficult topics of racism and the origins of racism, he made it very real for us by bringing in primary source materials. So, for example, he would bring in ancient Myanmar artifacts or segregation signs, have us discuss the reality of race in America in a way that reached outside of textbooks and regular ways that people thought about Black history or racism. And so after taking this class, I went around to different antique shops in the Big Rapids area and started finding these pieces myself. And then as that collection grew, I wasn't just satisfied with just collecting Jim Crow related material. And I wanted to collect things. And this is, the early 90s. And I started Ferris in the late 80s. And this was during the golden era of hip hop, this Black consciousness movement in hip hop. I'm listening to Public Enemy. I'm listening to KRS-One. I'm listening to acclaimed. Other conscious artists. And so I started collecting material that represented, that messaging I was getting through hip hop. So, besides collecting Jim Crow material, I started collecting Malcolm X material, Muhammad Ali material. I'm from Detroit, so I'm collecting Motown material as well, and just things for me that was really uplifting and affirming. And so by the time I graduate, I have probably 400 artifacts going into 1994. And I started teaching in 1994. So I'm using those artifacts in my classroom to engage my students. And then 1995 hit, and Minister Farrakhan calls for 1 million Black men to go to Washington, D.C. At that point, I didn't know, had any idea of what that might look like in terms of just people showing up. But at the age of 25 then, I felt that I needed to be there. And I showed up, and there was way more than 1 million Black men on the mall that day, and we're standing there engaged, listening to some of the greatest speakers of that time, men and women. So people like, of course, Mr. Farrakhan, but Cornel West, Maya Angelou, Rosa Parks, Dorothy Height, um, Dr. Betty Shabazz. So it was a phenomenal day. It resonated deeply with me, and so when I got back to Detroit, I started doing public exhibits, and so
Nice.
the work of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum
Mhm.
comes out, out of my experience of going to the Million Man March, and then coming back home and doing public exhibits, and from then, it just kind of took on a life of its own, and so
Mm.
that's 30 years. Um, so yeah,
Wow.
that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. Wow.
What was your proudest moment in that time?
Oh wow, there's many proud
I'm
moments.
sure that, yeah, I'm sure there's
But
plenty.
one of them, just realizing, once this idea is conceptualized, just realizing at the point that you get that first exhibit where somebody really wants you to come and set up and do your thing. And
Mm.
I guess one of those big moments for me was the first college experience I had going to a college. And that was the University of Michigan in 2007. Um, from
Oh,
from 95 to 2006, it was very much a localized Detroit experience. So you had to be in Detroit to experience it.
hmm.
It was a lot of schools. It was the African American festival in the summertime in Detroit. There were churches and things like that. But in 2007, it went to its first college, University of Michigan, and from there, it started getting invited to many different colleges around the country. So it just kind of
Wow.
grew on at that point. And from colleges, it went to government agencies, to corporations, religious institutions. It's been to churches, mosques, and synagogues. So in many diverse spaces, K through 12 schools, of course. Um,
Hmm.
so at this point, it's been to 43 states and over 1,000 institutions. Um,
Wow.
and this,
1,000.
yeah, and this year alone, starting January 3rd, I've been to 32 stops this year in 9 states. And
Wow.
yeah, and so Omari and I had went to Paris, of course, together, and we've known each other for quite a few years now. And when I started doing this work around Detroit, I asked him to come on board and do work with me, and he's been a incredible help. I really couldn't have done this work as long as I've had, and as far widespread as I've had, if it wasn't for Omari, and then of course Victor Muhammad and Dumi the Pores and Professor Griffin Public Enemy are all folks who travel with me currently.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Do you have a list of where your next stops are, where people can take a look at?
My next stops are in the University of Montana. If anybody wants to come out to Montana,
Ready to go to
and then,
Montana? Are you
and then
coming to Chicago anytime?
actually I am. I'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
I'll be at the DuSable on Juneteenth.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We have,
I just inked that today. Yeah.
Very nice.
we have office space and salon and wellness center,
Hmm.
nutrition bar, but we also have a very big parking lot.
There you go.
So if you guys have an extra day that you will be here and you guys want to set up and things of that nature, free of charge,
Mhm.
we have the space, we have the opportunity, and we offer that to you guys free of charge.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Omari, what's going on, man?
What's happening? What's happening?
Have you guys seen the transition of the new president as any hindrance to you guys' goals and what you're trying to accomplish thus far in the year?
Well, with any major transition, there are going to be hiccups and reverberations, ripples in the water, so to speak. um, Sometimes you can directly link them, sometimes you can indirectly link them. Um, so I think we've experienced a little bit of that. However, we try not to focus too much on it,
Mhm.
because our goal is always to continue to reinvent ourselves anyway and expand ourselves into new areas and arenas. Uh, like Khalid mentioned, a few places that a few different types of organizations that have booked us.
Mhm.
I don't know if he mentioned this or not, but we've had senior. We just went to Cleveland
Mhm.
and did an exhibit. I think this was our second time. It was my first time at this location, but I think we had presented there before, which is actually a senior living facility, which is a
Mhm.
predominantly black senior living facility. So you
Nice.
get to see all of these elders. I met a woman that was 107, I think she was,
Oh,
Wow.
and they get to look at the
wow.
history from a lens of someone who has witnessed a lot of, if not most of what we had on the table, right? So going into environments like that that we don't get a lot of bookings in,
Mhm.
but hopefully we'll expand into that market a little bit more. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we have taken a couple of hits from the incoming situation. However, like I said, our goal is
Right.
to never really allow other things
Mhm.
outside of our control to limit us, but
Right.
Right.
to make adjustments. I always say life is a game of adjustments.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
so so that's where our focus is right now, is how to adjust and compensate for any loss that might come as a result of that.
Mhm.
Because yeah, that impacts us from a dollar standpoint, but
Right.
Sure.
it impacts our mission
Mhm.
of wanting to reach more, especially the children we get to reach, right? The young
Right.
minds we get to reach. So we
Absolutely.
want to make sure that whatever that is that's outside of our control, we do the things that are within our control to compensate for that and still reach a significant amount of our target audience.
Absolutely. And as you were sharing about going into the senior homes, what I thought about was perhaps you could have interviewed some of them. That would have been a nice touch as well to your museum.
Yes, sometimes we are able to pull people aside. Um, Usually it's only two of us at the location.
Mm,
Uh, and because we had 10 tables. And
yeah.
I don't know if Khaled mentioned this or not, but all of our exhibits are 10 tables, 6 to 8 foot tables, full of
Okay.
material.
Wow.
We have 15,000
Wow.
pieces in our archives. So each of our
Oh,
exhibits, are well over 100 pieces, over 150 pieces, sometimes up to 200, 220.
mm,
So, um, we want to make sure that we're available to give people individualized tours as they
absolutely.
walk through the exhibit. But sometimes, like when we do local environments, like in the Detroit area where we're based out of mostly, um, we might have three of us on site or four of us
Mm,
on site. So I
mhm.
have done some individual pull aside interviews. We don't always get a chance to, but I like to do that when we can.
We
Absolutely.
we have a lot of clients that are African American, so maybe we can put together a day of healing,
Mm,
and show your wares and all the
mhm,
rest of the people that we participate in
mhm,
business
mhm.
ventures with. But we got the space. If you
Yeah.
guys got the time, then we'll put together a plan of attack and kind of go from there.
It's super powerful too, getting those stories
Oh yeah.
of like I did a one that I interviewed 11 Lao refugee women, and so for some of them, for the first time, they spoke and shared their story after 40 years.
That's
Mm,
And so powerful. They've for the first time, like untold stories that they've never shared. So yeah. Um,
yeah.
so what is kind of what's next for you guys then after this?
so. Well, a few things actually. I have a new book that's out.
Okay.
So it's called A Legacy in Motion, celebrating 30 years of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum. So
Awesome.
a book tour is coming up. Also,
Okay.
there's a documentary film that was just released that's currently on, it's airing on Fox Soul right now.
Nice.
And the next time it airs is on Saturday at 11 p.m. on Fox Soul. So we're out showing the film as well, doing speaking engagements with that.
Hmm.
And then in terms of legacy, Omari mentioned that there's 15,000 artifacts in the archive now.
Wow.
So one of the challenges and one of the critiques that I've had with larger museums is that people have these archives that people don't have access to. So you know to have things just sitting to me is kind of criminal. Things need to be shared, right?
Yes.
So 30 years into this, now I have the same issue that I was critiquing, these other
Oh,
museums about. So looking at legacy now,
yes.
I have a foundation. It's called the Black Sea Legacy Foundation. And so
Okay.
what I'm doing with this archive, ultimately what I want to do is donate the vast majority of that archive to different community archives around the country. So I'm willing to seed these community archives as long as they make a commitment to grow the archive and to grow it with their local history and then make it accessible like I'm making my material accessible to the public. So as long as they're willing to do that, then I'm willing to seed these community archives. So the first one that I'm seeding is the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, which is in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm seeding them with over 150 artifacts this coming May 19th, which is Malcolm X's 100th birthday. And
wow.
this Memorial Foundation is actually on the home site of Malcolm X, where his family, where he was born, and his mother and father owned the land that was on.
Right.
Have you guys thought about making the museum virtual? And you can walk through the different hallways and things of that nature.
Yeah, we've talked about. I've talked to several people about doing that. The only thing that I'm hesitant about is that doing it virtually, you miss out on that aesthetic experience.
Right.
Being in front of. I mean, I can show you right now a letter that Malcolm X wrote to somebody in his signature. But that's a whole different experience when you're in front of it in person, and then me showing it virtually right now. So I really shy away from that. And so I really want to either have people come to it or me take it to them and have that experience. It's just a real different, intimate type of experience that you have with being in the presence of this material. And sometimes, another way I explain it is that we've all seen the painting of the Mona Lisa, right? We've seen it many, many, many times. But the Mona Lisa, people travel to go see the Mona Lisa, and millions of people go see that in person every year. So and they do that because it's just a different type of experience.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And
so what
and
has been?
I just want to add a couple examples to that. Well, first off, we have 3 exhibits traveling the country right now. So if you see Khalid and I together, it's going to be rare. It'll be a certain something special about that particular exhibit. And if you see Khalid, Griffin, and I together in the same place, it's really because it's a special event. But we are in different places at the same time because the demand for the museum has increased, especially in and around Black History Month. But I was in Rhode Island, and we have a version of shackles that were actually used during slavery on our exhibit. And we don't let people handle many of the items on the table, but sometimes the more resilient pieces like shackles, which are metal, we do let them hold. And the professor and his students, he brought a group in. at Johnson and Wales University, and them holding the artifact, you could actually see the vibratory impact it had on them. And all of them talked about how they felt, how they felt something from holding it.
Wow.
Another situation, I was in Long Island a couple of days after that,
Hmm.
and about 3 students came in, and they got to part of our exhibit, a Michael Jackson picture with Michael Jackson's signature, and they started crying. They said, "Is that his actual signature?" You
Oh,
know,
wow.
and they couldn't have gotten that experience from the screen, right?
Right.
So those are the types of things that we get to see all the time in the exhibit that show the actual physical connection, even if they aren't touching the artifact. Them being in the presence of 20 artifacts that were signed by 20 people they looked up to growing up.
Wow.
It can't be duplicated virtually.
Absolutely.
Now let me ask, this isn't a political show or anything of that nature, but we've had a lot of people on here that have nonprofits and things of that nature, and they have been affected by the changes in DEI and some of the changes that were made. Do you um, do you foresee any changes to your funding or the ability for you guys to go to various places um, because of the changes?
Well, one of the things that I learned growing up in hip hop culture, especially during the Black consciousness movement or the golden era of hip hop, is the idea and the practice of entrepreneurship and owning your own.
Yeah.
And unlike many museums, probably the vast majority of museums, I'm not a nonprofit. I'm a
Right.
for-profit.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
a for-profit because of my orientation in hip hop culture.
Mhm.
Um, and, another different thing about the museum too is that I own all the material in the collection. Many museums have had things that were donated, and because
Exactly.
of things that were donated, some things might be controversial, so people might never, you might have it in the archive, but the public will never see it. And then
Right.
secondly, sometimes you have artifacts that have stipulations attached to them in terms of how they can be shown, when they can be shown, that type of thing. So I don't have those types of issues. Um, so in terms of funding, um, I don't see that being a huge issue simply because um, the educational impact of the museum, people, people
Mhm.
want this type of material. People are willing to, because they see the value in it. People are willing to, find the money to make it happen. Although we're in an administration right now who's making some huge cuts across the board, there's still room and space for things that are essential in terms of the education of people and the public. And I think
Right.
there's enough committed people who, over the years, have found the work of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum valuable enough that they'll find money to, continue to bring it out. Some of the institutions that we've been going to over the years, we're in our 15, 20-year mark with some of the institutions. And
Wow.
because the archive is so large, these spaces have not seen the same exhibit twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've had some great relationships with people, and yeah. So I
Awesome.
see some things being a challenge, but I see, just overall, I see it's continually growing, and we went through one administration with our current president, and to be honest, we were more busy those 4 years than we had ever been. I mean, because people are looking for answers right now.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
then people are looking for real answers right now. People are looking for that real truth.
Yes.
And we bring it. You know what I'm saying? We don't hold back in terms of what the history is. We're very honest about what it is, and people appreciate the honesty. You know,
Yes.
so I very well could make a very quote unquote soft exhibit where it's Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks material and have 10 tables of just their legacy. And
Wow.
not to take anything away from either one of them,
Mhm.
but the way that we've been presented, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, has been in a very soft type of way, right?
Right.
But the way that we present it and the way and the spin we put on it, you see a very radical King in our exhibit. We
Right.
see a very radical Rosa Parks in our exhibit. I mean, people don't know that Rosa Parks came to the Million Man March and spoke to us.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that Rosa Parks was a lot more Malcolm X than she was Martin Luther King. And
Right.
she says that, publicly. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, I don't see, I don't see any huge hiccups. And at the end of the day, I mean, even if we're showing up, in spaces for free, because it wasn't that necessary. We do. I mean, my first 10 years, from 95 to 2005, I didn't get a paycheck. I didn't get any money those first 10
Right.
years.
Right.
So yeah. So we gotta make it happen.
So what has been out of all of your stuff, the biggest like aha, like gotta go see this? Like what is in your a museum that is a must see?
Can I share my screen with you?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can share some things real quick with you all.
I think. Can
I
you see?
will.
Will
Yeah.
it let you? Okay, perfect.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So
Uh-huh.
people often ask, what was that very first artifact that was a part of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum? So as an undergrad at Ferris State, this is 1990, 1991. I
Oh
went
wow.
on spring break with some friends. We traveled down to Daytona Beach. We drove from Big Rapids to Daytona Beach. So we're on I-75 traveling through Tennessee, and we stop for gas.
Yeah.
We go into a gas station, and there's shelves of this type of souvenirs for sale. And
Wow.
That's insane.
this is not an antique. This is something that was being mass produced at the time, being sold
Oh
as a
my
souvenir.
goodness.
Yeah, being sold as a souvenir celebrating Southern comfort or Southern culture. So this is the very first artifact. So this is there's not an older artifact in the Black History 101 Mobile
Wow.
Museum than this. So this is one of those major pieces. Here's another one,
Oh my God.
and this is actually a recent acquisition.
Wow.
When people think about the Ku Klux Klan, they think of Klansmen, right? But
Right.
this happens to be a women's robe. So it wasn't just Klansmen, but there's Klans women and Klans children as well. All right. So
Wow.
and when I got this robe, I wanted to find, and this robe is from the 1920s. And so I went online to find a photograph of a woman wearing it, and this photograph popped up online. And I want y'all to tell me, besides that robe, what do y'all see that stands out?
Well,
Yeah,
that it has, first of all, that it has
Preservation.
Christian crosses.
Oh wow. One
Yeah.
guy. One flag. That's insane.
Yeah. So, and I know this is not a political show, but so the Ku Klux Klan was a religious organization. It was a Christian organization.
Wow.
But also this photograph from the 1920s, you might see that slogan at the top that says "America First,"
Mm-hmm.
and that language sounds very familiar, right?
Yes.
And that's on purpose. The slogan for the Klan has always been "America First." So
Right.
when you hear that in current times and you see how people respond to that language, it's because they've heard that language over and over again for many decades now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's just an example of some of the things that I've gotten over the years. I won't go too deep into it, but
Right.
these are just some of the examples. But I will show you this final one.
Mhm.
I'll show you one more. This letter here at the very bottom is signed by Harry Belafonte, Jackie Robinson, and Sidney Poitier.
Hmm.
All right. And at the very top, it says it's the African American Student Foundation, 1959. And this letter is a fundraising letter, and they're raising funds to bring African students to America for a college education. All right. So in 1959, they bring over about 81 students, and then in subsequent years of 1960 to 63, they bring over several hundred students. But what
Wow.
makes this letter so important
Mhm.
that one of the students that they brought over in 1959 goes to the University of Hawaii and he studies economics. And
Mm.
while he's on campus, he meets a young lady and they fall in love and they get married. And in 1962, they have a son. And that son's name is Barack Obama.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
So, and
Oh,
one
goodness.
thing that people don't know and understand is that if it wasn't for Harry Belafonte, Jackie Robinson, and Sidney Poitier, Barack Obama would have never, Senior would have never came to America, and Barack Obama would have never been born,
Wow.
and we wouldn't have had our first black president in the form of Barack Obama.
Wow.
So these are some of the things that are part of the museum that are very fascinating and people enjoy, being exposed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got to get you
definitely.
guys down here.
Mhm.
If you're going to already be in the area, we
Absolutely.
have to get you guys down here and see whether or not
Mhm.
it will help.
Absolutely.
But it should be informative.
Mhm.
We should get a lot of people in attendance.
Mhm.
And because it's June and all the kids are out of school,
Absolutely.
we should be able to get a lot of kids able to see it as well.
Yeah. And you're so right. Like just the outfit that you showed, I can't even imagine seeing that in person. My
Mhm.
heart will be like pumping blood.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's crazy.
I would never disrespect the, and I don't even like using the word African American. I use the word black because to me, the black um, Americans here, it's more a different culture than whether or not we're African, whether or not we come from the Caribbean, whatever the case may be, it is a black culture that we are a part of. And it would be amazing to kind of expound. I try to tell my son about some of the instances we had at fairs
Mhm.
that were, I won't say life altering for me because I was still in my party phase at that time, but things that I remember growing up. Everyone met in front of the statue, and we discussed some things. Then we had white constituents meet as well. So there were times that we kind of had to step up as well and show our fortitude. And I told him, you won't experience that in high school. You won't experience that just in your neighborhood. But uh, to be away from your comfort zone and
Mhm.
have to tackle these issues is something I remember distinctly about college, and something that you know made me grow up a little bit. That and um, I don't want to say my mentor because that would seem like he was my mentor, but he was all black people's mentor up at Ferris. Um, and we had him on the I cannot think of his name. What is the teacher that?
You talking about Raymond?
Yeah.
Raymond Gay?
Raymond.
Raymond
Yeah.
That's my cousin.
Oh, that's your real cousin?
Yeah.
He's been on the show before, and I can honestly say
Mhm.
he didn't take me on as a mentee,
Mm.
but he definitely was a mentor.
Yeah, he
for most-
mentored all of us.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, I didn't know he was my cousin until my third year up there. We figured it out.
Oh, wow.
Really, I had a disagreement with another black gentleman, and it was right in front of that office. I don't know, was it Minority Affairs or
Yeah, Minority Affairs, yeah.
okay. So Raymond, and then there was a gentleman who was of Indian descent, and they came out and kind of stopped the fight and kind of was like, man, this isn't the reason why you up here, and kind of pointed me in the right direction. But those are things that I remember distinctly, and people I remember distinctly
Mhm.
that kind of shaped what we were doing. But got a couple of rapid fire questions for you guys before we let you go. We were talking about the golden age of hip hop. So I will ask you, Wu-Tang or Public Enemy?
Oh, Public Enemy for me.
Okay. What about you, Omari?
Oh, Mark, go see Wu-Tang.
Can I take a drink? Can I take a shot? Can I take a shot? Can I take a shot?
I'm only saying it because of the historical. Because I was first introduced to Public Enemy before Wu-Tang, but if we were breaking down lyricism, I mean Wu-Tang all day. But
Fight the Power was one of the first songs I heard that I said, why don't they like Elvis? Why don't they like I wasn't aware of this information.
Yeah, I think it depends on what's behind the question for me.
Right.
Because Wu-Tang's impact is just
right.
But PE's impact from a different angle is awesome. So
I'm with you.
I can't pick between the two.
I say from a lyrical standpoint, it's definitely the Wu, but from a cultural standpoint, it is the Public Enemy.
Yeah. But Wu gives you so many more options though, because there's so many individual artists that have individual careers.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just we can have a whole show about that one.
And I plan on having a hip hop show. I got some guys who are rapping,
Beats, Bed and
people who are
Beyond.
DJs, and so we're going to have a hip hop show.
Showdown.
What about Khalid or Mos Def?
What was the first name?
Most Def.
What was the first name?
Talib Kweli.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take Yasin.
Yeah, I got Talib. Talib was my favorite, one of my favorite rappers growing up. That's okay. Poor Righteous Teachers or X-Clan?
X-Clan.
You guys ain't feeling Poor Righteous Teachers?
Oh no. I love Poor Righteous Teachers.
Were you at Ferris when X-Clan came out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I was there when Outkast came up.
Oh wow.
So believe me, I was at Ferris for the amazing times that were there. But gentlemen, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you guys very much.
Yes, thank you. I can't wait to see it. I think I would have enjoyed social studies if you were my teacher.
Well, I was a social studies teacher, so yeah.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go.
We're gonna have you guys on the show again. whether
Mhm.
it's we're going to have a State of the Union address where we kind of talk amongst ourselves of people of color, but we're also going to have a sports, and we do this every year. We're going to have a sports episode, um, but I was thinking also of having a episode where we just Ferris alumni, so we have a lot of things. Like I said, we're gonna have
Reunion.
we're gonna have Raymond on here, and we're gonna give him his flowers as well. So many opportunities for you guys to come back. But you
And,
two,
and,
I'm
and
sorry.
Khalid and Raymond live a few blocks away from each other.
Oh wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's about 7 minutes away from me.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow. So you've been to the Gantt compound?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, you got to go. You got to go. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I was just over there last week.
Wow.
And he's already promised to come on the show again.
Mhm.
If we get a chance to go that way,
Yep.
we will definitely stop by the Gantt compound. But guys,
Yeah, and also send us your, schedule. We could talk offline. We'll
Okay.
see what we can do to hook you up with the community where we're at, where our business location is.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can get you guys connected with that. And what town are you in? You're in Detroit
No, I'm
or?
in Kalamazoo.
Oh, okay. You're in
Yeah.
Kalamazoo.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some Grand Rapids people who are on here as well that might want to book you as well, right
Okay.
there in Grand Rapids.
Right down the
So
street.
yeah, there you go.
So thank both of you for having us on.
yes, thank you guys
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
much.
It's very amazing
It's uplifting.
information. Yes. Can't wait to hear some more and see the documentary and the book. Where can they get your
Hey,
stuff?
send the links for your documentary,
Yes, in case somebody wants to.
for the mobile show. I mean, the mobile museum.
Mhm.
Send us all the links you guys can.
Yep.
Yep.
Any poetry that you're doing, Omari, because I don't know if we had mentioned it, but Omari's an amazing poet.
Oh yeah, we need a show on poetry.
Not only is he an activist,
Yes,
artist.
artist. Hmm.
He is definitely a creative artist as well.
Awesome.
So we'll be in the works with you guys. I talk to
Yes.
Omari at least once a week.
Mm.
So we'll be in touch with you guys and kind of figure everything out. But once again, thank you guys. You guys
Thank
are
you
an
very much.
inspiration. Um,
Yes.
I'm
Thank
gonna
y'all.
buy it and give it to
Mhm.
my son. Because I ain't gonna lie, he's spoiled. Everything that we didn't have, I tried to give him.
Yes.
He's spoiled. Even though I
Mhm.
coach him and I try to put that toughness in him, he needs to understand
Yep.
his history,
History.
his culture.
Mhm.
And I don't think he's getting that. We live
Mhm.
in Algonquin, which is kind of a suburb of Chicago.
Oh yeah.
We're almost in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So um,
Yeah, I don't
that
know
is
why I was thinking you were in Indianapolis.
Oh no.
Go ahead.
We're outside of Chicago.
yeah, we're
Okay.
about
Suburbs by O'Hare, 30 minutes from O'Hare.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
When I taught at the University of Illinois, I had some students from there.
Oh, nice.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you very
Yes,
much. We'll
thank
be
you
in
so
touch.
much.
Send us the links.
Mhm.
Throughout the week, we post these links
Mhm.
and reels from this
Yes,
episode.
episode. Mhm.
So
And also, we'll send you the link once it's uploaded to the podcast stations because we're on all the major podcast stations. So
Okay.
we'll send you that link as well.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Thank you.
All right. Thank
thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Great episode. I like the
Absolutely.
conversation. I like the subjects.
Yes.
We'll have to expound on that.
Mhm.
See what else we can do to help them in their mission. We also will have to get Omari on here. Maybe we do some poetry reading
That'll be
one day.
nice. Mhm.
But thank you guys. Sorry we were a little late. I seen a couple of you guys dropped off, but
You
Amber's
can always catch
always
the replay.
Amber's always on here. Vicky's always on here.
Miss Keisha. Hello, Miss Crystal.
Without a doubt. and we're making some changes. We're
Mhm.
updating everything. So next week this might look a little different. But thank you guys for tuning in. Please tune in again. We enjoy your company wholeheartedly with everything we're dealing with.
Mhm.
The book is
The
basic.
book, our book, right?
Yes.
Yes, our book is the new launch date will be on our anniversary date. April 12th is our anniversary. So we had a little slight delay. It was supposed to come out on February 14th, but we had a little bit of a delay. So the next due date, the next launch date is going to be April 12th. So be on the lookout. Thank you to those who pre-ordered.
How many years?
Oh, gosh.
April 12th is how many?
17 years. Oh, my goodness.
17 years.
17 years, you
Together,
guys.
22, maybe.
20. I stopped counting. It's so long.
Hey.
Look. From our 20s to our
You
50s.
never want to hear your babe say, I stopped
It's
counting
been too
when
long.
you ask, how long have you been with me? That's not what you want to hear.
It's been long,
Um,
but basically over half our lives.
so thank you guys.
Yes, we appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Yes,
Tune
all
in
of
next
you.
week for another
We'll
episode.
see you next week. Are you going to tell them the loud word? Loud word this week is family. Family is kakua. You say that?
We don't have the visual.
No. Thank you, Vicky. Kakua means family. Okay, this week all about your family.
Because that's the only thing that matters.
That's the only thing that matters. Not a job, not a biz, not anybody else.
No.
Family is first. Well,
Who you? Yes, they are first.
before your job, before anybody else.
Anything outside of your household is secondary.
Yes. So the loud word of the week is kakua, which is family.
All right. It's rough out here, guys.
Yes.
Watch your back. Be careful.
And we'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Same time, same place.
There you go.
Love y'all. Thanks for your support.
Deuces.